begun. Okay, now you always want to make sure you have your mic.
If it's close enough, you should be able to project it.
I don't know about that.
I mean, I do have a big mouth,
You do.
so let's hope it's loud enough. Mike's showing us the parking lot.
Well, Mike. Hey, Mike. Can you hear us if we're talking this loud from this far away?
Not at all.
What?
I can't understand exactly every single word you're saying.
So it has to be really close, right?
I could hear you. It was fine.
Oh, is he kidding?
I was being sarcastic because I couldn't have answered you unless I heard you.
Oh.
We're being serious here, Mike.
All right.
Okay. Perfect. I was just gonna.
Okay.
I take this seriously.
I can tell you take this seriously.
I'm gonna light myself up.
Glad you're here.
Thanks.
Enjoy
I said this will either go really great or it'll go real bad.
Okay.
But the good thing is, we'll know at the end.
Well, you're
can only
welcome
go
to
up from
you're
here.
welcome to call me down. I'm pretty flexible today, so if you need
Like,
help
can
with
you step
anything.
in for me?
I know, right? I've done this. I mean, how many times have you taught Ignite?
Never.
No.
No.
This is the first time.
So I told Nicole, I'm like, I hope you don't care that I read off of this because I can't remember anything. So
Oh.
like I watched the video and read the course material like 50 times. I'm like, I have no idea.
And it's
Didn't
totally being
remember any of
recorded
it.
right now.
Yeah.
Is Nicole still down there?
And to greatness.
Now you know my secrets.
Well, I'm excited. I'm sure that everyone in here will be blessed by you.
We shall see.
Is Nicole down there?
Yes,
Nicole, can you hear me?
she can.
Yeah, I can hear you, Mike. What do you need?
Where did the ding come from?
Oh gosh,
it's
stop it.
Mike.
Stop.
It's Mike. There's an inside joke, everyone. Mike Brown with the dinging bell and Nicole hating the dinging bell.
She does not like my bell.
Is that like our icebreaker, Mike?
Yes.
All right.
I like it. We're ready?
Do it.
All right, I'm Monica Kelts. I am the Director of Operations for the Holt Homes Group. So Dan Holt is my rainmaker. I have been with our team for about 5 years ago. I started as a listing manager. Now I've rolled into operations. I also act as his EA. So I am running the operation side of the business. I'm also in production now and doing all of the fun business things. So can you guys tell me who you are really quick? Uh-oh. Mic running, sorry.
My name's Taylor Johnson, and I'm with Evans Group. Yeah, is that what you wanted to know?
Yeah, are you
Okay.
loving it?
Yeah, I'm loving it so
How long
far.
have you been there?
2 months, so yeah,
Are you side by side?
both.
Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
Hi, I'm Katie Pittman. I am with Mark Stewart. I've been with him for 2 months as his buyer's agent.
I was wondering where I see you in the hallway all the time and I'm like, who does she work for?
Mark, yeah.
My name is Kurt Kokenar. I'm an independent. I've been here for 2 weeks.
Shane Knups, also independent, in about 2 weeks.
2 weeks, 1 month. Fine. Okay. So you're full-time now?
Tim Wooten. I'm buyer's agent for Amy Malaya.
Tisha's husband, right?
Stephanie Talley. I've had my real estate license for a week and a day. Woohoo. Thanks. And I'm an independent agent.
What are we saying?
Just say who you are.
Okay. I'm Sadie Furwald. I've had my license since last September, and I am part of Renessa Williams' team.
Great.
Do you want any of us online to chime in at all?
If you don't care to, I would love to know who's here.
I'm Sarah Semple, an agent. I actually been with KW for about 5 years, but I've been full-time now for about a month.
Recognize your name, Sarah. You're probably the only one.
I'm Maria Galgano. I've been an agent for 2 months with Keller Williams.
I'm Nicole Rice, and I've been an agent for almost 2 months with Keller Williams and a licensee since 2018.
I'm Andres De Leon. I've been a licensed since December last year and been with Keller Williams for 2 months.
Yes, so Dan is in our office. We are directly upstairs. If you take this stairwell, we are the first door on the left. So we have this entire front corner. Like if you head right, there's the bathrooms. We're directly across the hallway. Yeah, not here, the floor above us. Yes, so not the very top floor. We're right underneath the Grady team on the main floor. So yeah. Across from the bathrooms, the best place to be. We can't seem to get away from it. Our old office, we were right by the bathroom. It's fun. So yeah, our team has about 20 agents, we have 20 staff members and probably 8 agents in production. So our goal is to eventually get everyone licensed so that we can help. As I said earlier, this is my first time doing this, so forgive me if I have to read from this because I can't remember anything. But does anyone have any questions before we get started? We're setting goals that matter today. So we're gonna go over 411, caps, royalties, fees, that stuff. All right, so there's no secret to real estate, we all know. Success leaves us clues, so we know exactly what successful agents do every day. Do you guys know what the number one thing is that we can do to grow our business? There you go. The goal of our time here is to model what successful agents do every day and to show you how to do it. If I get in the flow of this, it's probably going to be awkward. Sorry. So we're going to cover setting goals, which is part of running your business. To do that, we're going to ask you a couple big questions. Where do you want to go and where does your motivation lie? And last but not least, how do you get there? So we're going to set goals that matter. All goals are tied to something you care about. So anytime you're setting a goal, that's the biggest thing to think of what's your big why? What's that thing that's going to move you forward that you care the most about? So there's always a quote. You will see this on and off throughout. Who here has read or heard of The One Thing? Everyone, if you've not read The One Thing, it's one of the best books that you can read. I think I've probably read it 3 different times since I've been on Dan's team. So a quote from The One Thing is, who we are and where we want to go determine what we do and what we accomplish. So The One Thing is a book by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, for those who don't know, about how to structure life and to achieve goals. We're going to talk about a few of these principles from The One Thing today, and you should definitely check it out and read it if you haven't. So why is it important to set goals? Why is it important to you to set goals? Yeah. So if you guys didn't hear him, the biggest thing I took out of that is you can't track what you don't measure, which is 100% true. If you don't have a clear expectation on what you're supposed to measure or what your goal even is, you're never going to reach it. You may write it down and never look at it again, and then how are you ever going to reach it? So what you do and what you accomplish determines who you are and where you'll go. If your activities don't have a guiding goal, you'll likely be very busy and not have a lot to show for it. So the mission of Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, experiences worth giving, and legacies worth leaving. None of these things just happen overnight. This is one of the biggest quotes that you can take away. The mission of Keller Williams is to build careers worth having, businesses worth owning, lives worth living, and experiences worth giving. and legacies worth leaving. Setting goals that matter means doing the work that matters. When our work matters, what we tend to do more of, we will do it well. So the skills we're going to focus on today are lead generating for buyers and sellers, which is the number one thing, setting goals, and attending training and getting coaching is what you're doing as you've joined this. Every day we need to lead generate for buyers and sellers. And just by being here today, you're getting the training and coaching that you've signed up for. Finally, at the end of this, we'll discuss our goals and how we reach them through 411s. So part of achieving goals is working hard. I think we can all agree on that. If you don't put in the time and effort, you're not going to get very far. So you'll see on this, what else do you see up here that's important to setting and meeting goals? So big thinking plus time and effort. So looking at this, your actions and your small outcomes, or your actions and your big outcomes. You don't get big outcomes from thinking small. When we talk about thinking here, we're talking about thinking big when you're setting your goals and thinking big on how to reach those goals. You have to ask yourself, what are you doing? How are you doing it? And who are you doing it with? These answers can limit your outcome or they can propel you forward. So if you set small goals, you're going to get small outcomes. If you set big goals, you're going to get big outcomes. So thinking big takes practice. I will say when I first started, I started with the mindset of an admin. I came in, I got a salary, went home every day. I put in zero time after that. And then I started thinking of how can someone in an admin role really project? Like, how can you move your business forward? How can I be a part of the company and not just a support role? And so I started thinking big. How can I set myself up for success to help Dan, to help Jen, who's our lead buyer's agent? And from there, I started setting big goals. I wanted to get my license. I wanted to learn about lead generation. I wanted to learn how I could support my agents, so I got my license. Through that, I have slowly developed into the DO role today. And so as I've done that, I've built every administrative role in our office to have the same thoughts. They're not just admin, they are producers. They are lead generating for our agents as well. It's not just our ISA and OSA team. So I say that on the admin side, because on the agent side, it's so important. Your number one thing is lead generating. Your number one thing is to get buyers and sellers. But there will come a day when you reach your goals of how many transactions you're doing. Say you're closing 100 in a year, you're going to need some help. You're going to need a TC, or you're going to have to hire someone to help you do that, because that's no longer going to be the 20% of your business. And you want someone who thinks big, because if you have someone who's a small thinker paired with you, it's not really going to move you forward the way that you would like it to. So thinking big takes practice. Don't have limiting beliefs, and find the person that can be your sounding board, that can tell you, hey, you're not dreaming big enough. This isn't actually, you have 100 on here. Why wouldn't you do 125 units? Have that person in your life that's going to challenge your thinking and really help you build a big business. Questions so far? Okay. So the question you need to ask yourself on this slide is, how big is your box? The what, the how, and the who. If you're not thinking big, you're creating an artificial ceiling of achievement. There are only so many hours in a day, and there's only so much time. There's only so much the person can do with the time that's allotted to them. So I'm going to share with you a time that I've limited myself, and I just kind of did it before. So I was in an admin role. When I first started, our team was doing about 350 units, and our referral and repeat business was about 20%. Fast forward to last year, we closed 540 units, and our repeat and referral business year to date, as of right now, has grown to 56%. Why that's important to our team is because we weren't asking for referrals. We weren't asking for reviews. Our agents, their top 20% is to be in the field. The admin staff, their top 20% was to making sure the clients get to closing, right? Or making sure a house gets on the market. Well, when we started looking at how we could support each other, it was thinking of, number one, what's the goal on our repeat and referral business? How does that help move us forward? Well, you're going to work easier. If you can work with people like you're already working for, your Met database, the people who know you, love you, trust you, that's just easy business. So you can chase those cold leads, but if you know people who want to transact with you and they know people who are also just as easy as they are, your business becomes easier. Your units become easier. So that was our biggest getting out of that limiting belief of I can only do so much for a team, or maybe you could only do 50 transactions. Why could you not do 100? Who do you need to have in your life? So the what, the how, the who needs to be in your life to propel you forward? How are you going to do it together? And what is it that you're wanting to do? So many new agents can limit themselves right away. Maybe they don't call their sphere, or they just hope business will come their way. Maybe you're not being systematic about lead generation. Maybe you refuse to learn scripts that would make your job easier. Most of the agents don't stay in the business because they treat it as a business, or they burn out because they aren't seeing a good return for their time and effort. So that's the biggest thing. If you take anything away from today, is it's not just that lead generation is the most important thing you can do. It's connecting with people. It's calling your sphere. It's calling businesses that you might have a relationship. Go to a coffee shop every day and get coffee and connect with people. If you have roofers that you use, like, connect with those people so that you can really build a lasting relationship, so that they can refer you business, so that your life becomes easier. So you're not just chasing those cold leads all the time. And don't settle for, say your goal for the month is 10 units and you hit 10. That doesn't mean that for the rest of the month, you just are like, okay, I hit 10, it's the 20th, I'm done, I've made what I want to make. Always have a stretch goal. So we call it a stretch goal on our team. So if our agents, their goal is 10, well, they better have a stretch goal of 15, because what's going to happen in a month where maybe you don't hit 10? You're going to need that extra cushion from the month that you could have done a lot more to help you for the month that you maybe didn't hit what you needed to hit. Questions? Okay, so we're gonna do a little activity with this one. It's called My Big Life. So once you have a vision in place, you can set meaningful goals that will bring you closer to your life. Once you have the goals, you can talk about how to reach them. It all begins with your vision. So if you guys will turn to page 3, I think, in your book, it should look like this graph. So on here, you'll see 5 rectangles. You're going to write a person's name, or write a cause, or write some type of description that you really care about. So maybe you want to be able to care for your parents at a certain age, send your kids to school without debt, or pay for a vacation for your best friend. Maybe you want to donate to a cause. Perhaps you would like to be named a supporter for your local animal shelter, or serve on a board that you care a lot about. So you'll see here, they have Sarah and Hunter get through school debt-free, $120,000. Austin's Pets Alive, donate a cat habitat for $5,000. So take the next 5 minutes or so and think about what you want these rectangles to include. I did an example of mine. So mine would be send my kids to college, $100,000, purchase investment properties, having a travel budget, donating to one of my charities, and then owning our farm outright. So mine totaled to about 1.25 million. The one on here is about 364,000. There's no right or wrong answer. It can be as big as you want, as small as you want, but remember, we're here to think big. So definitely fill those in so that you can live your big life. Once you're done with those 5 rectangles, add everything up, and that becomes your total in the center. biggest thing to remember is this can change at any time. So if one thing falls off of here in the next month or so, just push it out with something else, refill in your center circle. This doesn't have to stick with you forever. Bye. See you in an hour. Life with Dan. That was Dan. That was the Dan Holt. Yeah, that's what a lot of people say now. All right, so who wants to share all of their big why, a portion of their big why, their big life? Anyone?
They're fun. Share them.
I know, I love these.
Talk about them out loud, then it makes them real.
I had to really think about it, but the other day, well, we should close on our first rental property that we just purchased next month. So we're excited about that, but we want to purchase more. So these are just some figures I pulled out of the air. I have no clue.
And you can always change it.
Okay, 500,000 for more property investment, pay off our house, 250,000. Travel budget, 50,000. Save for retirement, a second retirement, 500,000, and donate to charities, 100,000. So that's about 1,500,000 roughly.
That's awesome. So as we get into goal setting, you'll have to think about that when we get to our 411 of what's important in that you want to set on your goals. So the biggest thing to remember through this exercise is, you can be anywhere you want to be in 5 years, Gary Keller says. So you can't just fast forward to owning, $500,000 worth of investment properties or paying off your house next month. It's going to take you a little bit of time, but you're never going to reach that goal unless you're in the weeds every day working on it. So it takes time to reach your goal. So just don't forget that. All right. Are you ready?
I think I'm ready. Mine's definitely 5 to 10 years, but my number's 15 million.
Okay. What makes that up?
Veterans issues. I'm a former Marine. It's a travesty. What's going on in the lives of a lot of veterans from Korea, World War II, Vietnam, and all the way back. I want to be a major contributor towards helping solve those issues, as well as the same for housing for the homeless. We're in the process of starting a nonprofit that deals with that issue. Springfield is a small place whenever it comes to having housing issues for homeless folks, but you see them on every corner, right? You go to Seattle, where they have tent cities underneath freeway bridges, and everything. I want our area to not have to get to that point, right? My family. I've got 6 kids. I have grandparents. I have extended family. I have aunts. I have uncles. I want my children to not start at 0. I want them to start at 10, because it usually depends on where you start is where you wind up. And if they can have that and focus on doing more good in the world versus, having to spend most of their time in a rat race trying to get to things, then I think that does the world more good down the line. Then of course I have our home paid off, and my wife would really very much like a lake house with a boat. And
Don't we all?
yeah. Well, my contention to that is we have 6, right? 5 of them.
Right.
4 of them play baseball. I don't know when we would go to the lake, but
Well, they're not going to be there forever.
right. And then I have a dream. I have a vision for my brand. I have an LLC that I started. It was one of the first things that I did whenever I decided to get my real estate license. It's called Show Me Mo Real Estate is the name of, that's my brand that I work under. What that looks like is not a team in the traditional sense to where I have a listing agent and a buying agent, but it looks like a bunch of relationships across the state of Missouri to where I can use what I know about advertising and lead generation to really branch out and form relationships all over the state and refer. Like Dan's kind of the rainmaker upstairs, right? So take that and expand it out quite a way.
Idea. I love it.
That's my stuff.
And how much was your, say 15 million?
I said 15 million.
That's awesome. So definitely set is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? Maybe some of them are 5 years. Maybe some are 3. Maybe some are 10. It doesn't have to be a set. It's just not underestimating what you can get to. And then chunking that down into, you can't focus on all 5 at one time. So
Sure.
What's your biggest rock? What's the thing that you can accomplish the quickest? And that by do so, when you complete that makes the rest of your steps easier. So definitely start there.
Okay, thanks.
One? Do you want to share one? You want to share your amount? Anything?
One thing I want to do is get to the point. I have 5 adopted siblings younger than me. I have a lot more siblings than just that, but they're all younger. My mom's a foster parent, so they're all between the ages of 9 and 15. And my mom is not the young chicken she once was when we were kids. So I'd like to get to the point where I can help her support my siblings and send them to college and let them travel and do all that stuff. So I want to get to the point where I can make that money as well. So
Absolutely. So what was your center number? Did you have it added up?
I didn't have it added up right. I did it like a yearly amount, not like a total 5-year amount.
There's no right or wrong way to do this. I mean, it really is what works for you. But just if you don't write it down, you don't know what your goals are. And so it's very important to, if you're going to live your big life, that I wish someone would have taught me years ago what I really studied in the last 2 years. I really could have been a lot further faster. So definitely thinking about these things as new agents as you start to build your wealth of where you want that wealth to go. So as I said, when I first joined our team, we were at like 350 units. And it took us 2 years to break through even 450. And then we got hung on 450. We never could surpass it. And because we started focusing on our repeat and referral business, networking with people, connecting, that is what pushed us over 500. And it did it very quickly. Like I said, had we been intentional with who we were lead generating, we would have learned that lesson a long time ago. So always important. You'll hear lead generation, lead generation, lead generation. It truly is the foundation of your success. You can't get where you are if you don't have any units.
Does anyone online want to share? You can just talk, like unmute yourself and talk, and then we'll be able to hear you.
I put building our custom home, owning a vacation home, and then traveling once a year on family vacation, creating our own family business.
These are all the goals.
I'm talking, babe. I'm on my meeting. And create fund for education of kids in Honduras. And it came up to be approximately 2.5 million, but that's just throwing numbers in there.
Absolutely build to that. Anyone else? All right. So let's move to understanding your goals. Now we have a vision, we have a goal. Let's look at what it means for you to achieve those through real estate. So it's what we need to do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to get there. All right, so where does all of this money go? If you've never been a 1099 employee, this is going to be very important for you so that you learn to save your money for taxes and so that you don't end upside down. If you don't understand how all of this works, definitely get someone to help you out. It's very important to be able to save back from your GCI. That way at the end of the year, you're not in a corner crying, because it happens to a lot of people. An interesting stat as I was studying this to kind of talk to you guys today was 80 to 85% of the top 1% of agents are very in debt. So you look at that and you have these super successful agents, your top 1%, and all of them are just living in debt because they think they're making all this money. They're not spending it wisely. They probably owe a ton in back taxes. They probably have a ton of investments that aren't getting any return. And so you're thinking of how are you investing smartly? How are you saving, paying yourself first, making sure you're also paying the government, and so that you're setting yourself up for success. So in doing so, you have to understand how your commission works. So a lot of new agents, you're going to get your first check and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. It's like $6,000 and I'm going to put this directly in the bank and I'm going to go spend it. It's probably the worst thing that you could actually do. So let's talk about where the money goes and how much will actually be going to your goal, how much is going in your pocket, and then how much is going back into your savings. These numbers are super general, so we're just going to look at average sales prices. Actual amounts will vary, especially if you're on a team. Team splits look a lot different than an individual agent split. All right, so you'll see that this little red line showed up in the middle. So when you are participating in a transaction with someone, it is a total of 6%. That 6 gets split in half. So unless you're double siding the deal, you are making 3% of that sale, not 6%. So if you're a buy side agent or a list side agent, half of that commission is going to someone else. So if you look at a $200,000 sale, you have 6% commission, which is $12,000. You're getting 6,000 of that. You're paying the buyer's agent the other 6,000. All right, next one. Once you have your half, about a third of that is then going to go to your market center to cover your company dollar, your franchise royalty fees. This is going towards like command, a workspace in the office, your trainings, your team meetings. So thinking about all of that stuff, that is what you're paying that into. And then once you hear, roughly another third of that is going to go back into your business. So the things that a lot of people don't think about, if you're on a team, most of this stuff is provided for you. But if you're an individual agent, you're purchasing your signs, you have lock boxes that you have to get from the board, your car, your phone, anything that you consider that will make your business grow. You're going to have a budget for that. And then finally, you get to have your share. So your take home includes your taxes. So you need to put your money away for your taxes religiously. You do not want to have a year's worth of work wiped out because you failed to plan to pay your taxes. So kind of the rule of thumb, 25 to 30%, you need to be putting back out of what you take home so that at the end of the year you can pay your taxes. Again, go talk to someone. They can look at your budget and tell you exactly what you need to pull back. But pretty average for most of our agents, we look at that 30% number. So always helpful. I can't stress to you enough. Do not forget about your tax budget. All right, so let's get real on how we're getting paid. So up here, you'll see your average sales price. Say it's 300,000 on our team, it's 200,000. So I did a couple different math equations based on where we're at in Missouri. So if your average sales price is 300,000, your average GCI is going to be 9,000. That's the check that you're going to take away from that 3% of your deal. If you are at a $200,000 average sales price, that GCI is going to go to a $6,000. So our objective in this activity is to get real on about reaching your goals through your GCI amount. We're going to figure out based on how much money you'll receive from a transaction, how many transactions you'll need to actually meet your goal at the end of the year. So let's estimate, let's see here. Our caps. Nicole can correct me if I'm wrong on this because I had to get clear because I live in a world of a team, so my mindset's a little different when it comes to company dollars and caps. So you're going to see your market center company dollar, your GCI times 30%, you cap at 20,000. Is that right, Nicole? Yes. Yeah. I went over this with Dan to make sure I was right. And then you have your franchise royalty. So your GCI times 6%, you cap at 3,000. So when I was talking to my leaders today, I know, say Jen started in November. Every November is when her royalty begins. So that $3,000 you're paying into that based off of your start date. Everything else is kind of determined by when you start your market center. So if it's June or July, that's when that company dollar will start to where you're paying into your cap. So once you cap, you don't have to pay any more company dollars to the market center until after your next anniversary date. So that's something to keep in mind. Once you reach your cap, you get to keep your full commission. The franchise royalty, again, capped at 3,000. Now you add those together to get your maximum amount of money that you'll pay the market center in the next 12 months. So keeping in mind, if your market center company dollar, if you're at 20,000 and then you have your royalty fees at 3,000, you're at 23,000. So the numbers here are a little bit different. But question? Okay. Let's go here. So this will make a little more sense. Okay, anyway, it's 100,000 and 30,000. Yeah. So, do I need to like write this up here? I mean, you can. Oh, wait, oh, true. So for net income, and then your company dollar plus royalty. What? Okay, so then you have your business expenses, your total GCI. So you're going to add columns A, B, and C. You're going to get $180,000. Your average GCI of 9,000. The total number of transactions you need in a year are 20. So I did a little bit of different math. So keeping your net income goal at 100,000. Say your company dollar and royalty is 23,000, which what we based off of. You add in that $50,000 business expenses, that could be really high depending on how many units you're wanting to do or kind of the situation you're stepping in. So you're at 173. You divide that by your $6,000 average commission if your average sales price is $200,000 instead of $300,000, and you would need 29 units. So just playing with your math to see what type of homes you're selling. If your average sales price as an agent is $100,000, your units are going to change. But if you're jumping into that luxury market and your average sales cost is, or your average sales price is $500,000, your units are going to change based off of that. So keeping an eye on your average sales price, we track each of our agents on our team separately because they're all different. Some of them sell houses under 150,000 and that's all they sell. Some of them sell houses only over 500,000. So the amount that they have to work to get to where they want to be to hit their financial goals is different per agent. It's not just a team thing. We have a team goal, but each of our agents are differently. So as you're doing your goals, you need to keep in mind of what average sales price are you chasing? How many expenses you have? What's your total there? Add in your company dollar and your royalty fees. Divide that by your average commission. That will give you your units. You can ask also, once you get that kind of figured out and you want to dig into it deeper, if you want to add in budgets in there, you can definitely add all of that in.
I did just want to say that is, so those numbers are a little bit off for the royalty and the company dollar, because ours is a max of 23,000, because your guys' company dollar is 20,000. If you're an individual, if you're on a team, of course it's different. But royalty is always 30. So just so that no one got scared about the 30,000, that's not a real number here.
23, right?
Yes, 23.
So say, I did that math, I just didn't write it up here. So 100,000 and 23. Let's say you have 50,000 in expenses, you're at 173. Divide that by your gross commission income. $29, sorry. Actually like 28 point something. But if you take the 30 out and you put it as 23, it will change your equation. So you can set your goals in command based on how you work these out. I have this logged in on my MacBook. Do you want me to plug it in or no? On how to walk them through?
And we've gone over this. Rachel teaches an entire class. It's called
Okay.
Know Your Numbers. And it's literally plugging in those numbers so that, and making sure that you're plugging in that information so that your goals and stuff are changing as you're moving through your transactions. So there is a recording of it and I'll send it out to you guys today just so you have it.
It's super easy when you log into command. All the instructions are here. And if you follow these step by step, you can set them up and it follows you. You can change everything. You can adjust your buy side versus list side, depending on what type of agent you're wanting to really focus or what side of the business you're wanting to focus on. So don't lose this page if you are interested in tracking those in command. All right, so not to be discouraging as we talk about this and you realize how many units you have to do to get to where you need to be. If you lead gen, those numbers come easy. But no matter how big your goal is, you can achieve it in real estate, as long as you focus on the time and efforts that are needed. That goes hand in hand with doing the right activities. You've probably heard by now the 80-20 rule. Has anyone not heard of the 80-20 rule? Okay, so the easiest description that I can say that we always tell people on our team is the 20% of your business is like your most important thing. What are you doing? So for an agent on our team, it's lead generating. It's getting out in the field. They're going on listing appointments. They're going on buyer appointments. That is their 20%. Their 80% is everything else that's happening that doesn't really matter. Transaction management, covering closings, like anything like that, that really you could probably send someone else to do once you had enough transactions to do it. So the 80% is just kind of what keeps the business running. The 20% is the business. So how are you getting that business? So I'm going to read this because it's a lot, but in the 1940s, quality control manager Dr. Joseph Juran documented a life-changing universal principle that he called the vital few and the trivial many. The idea was that a relatively small percentage of your efforts lead to the vast majority of your results. He attributed some of his findings to statistical work of the Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who had observed that 80% of his wealth in Italy was owned by 20% of the population. As fate would have it, that broadly embraced principle came to be known as Juran's law, but as Pareto's principle. These days, we simply call it the 80-20 principle. The idea is that 20% of your actions lead to 80% of your results, maybe one of the most powerful principles that you can apply in your life. It's about getting the most from your time and effort, and it's about maximizing your results. It's about having focus. So when we look at this, a lot of times you'll hear it several times. If you ever watch a webinar or anything to do with the one thing, they'll talk about the big rocks. Have you guys heard the analogy of the big rocks and the sand? So, okay, I'll read it to you. If your day is a jar and you put in your big rocks first, you would then put in your little rocks, your sand, your gravel. So in first, you won't have room. If you put your little rocks in first, you would not then have room for your big rocks, right? Because you would have sand, you would have gravel, and then you'd be trying to stack in your big rocks and it would never fit in the jar. Your little rocks are your distractions. They're the things that keep you out of productivity every day. They are what keeps you from hitting your goal. So when you think about that, I kind of wrote down what are small rocks, what are big rocks to me. So for me currently, lead generation, even though I'm in an ops role, transaction management, so getting those transactions to closing to successfully get the agent paid, and then systems and processes. Those are my big rocks. The sand and the small rocks for me are connecting with the title company. It's answering emails, which will become the bane of your existence as you get into this. So kind of that, I would say 75% of everything in my email is just something I need to read and file away. And that will be true to most of you. As you're looking through your stuff, people will email you and tag you on things that you don't actually maybe really need to know, but it's amazing how much of your time can be sucked up or put in towards distractions and how much of your day you actually lose. So when your energy is the highest, say if it's morning or say if it's afternoon, most people it's morning, it's making sure your big rocks are the first thing that are on your schedule. Are you lead generating? That should always be your number one thing. That is your biggest rock that could possibly go in your jar. And then what are your other two rocks? Who has right now, who wants to share what, if any, they know are their big rocks outside of lead generation? What else is important to you as a new agent to set you up for success? And then have you found yet what is your sand or your small rocks that are taking up your time?
I mean, it might go into lead generating, but just doing your follow-ups too is like a big one for me. Like whether it's after your open house or just if you were cold calling, just following up with those people is one of mine.
Fortunes in the follow-up.
I found that one of my big rocks is content creation. I don't have a name to associate myself with, right? Or, I've not been in the business and very well known and done a whole lot of transactions. So it's about how can I develop a way for people to know and trust me, right? So that's become one of my big rocks, and the smaller rocks in the sand have been, just like you said, the emails. I struggle with the technology piece of this business a lot. I'm not tech savvy. So whenever it comes to my app and my website and the different trainings and stuff around that are the things that I get bogged down with quite a bit.
Absolutely. And so it's looking at that of, is there someone that you know who could help you with that? Is there someone that think outside of the box of, is this my 20%? No, not really, but branding is so important to everyone. If people don't look at something and recognize your name with that brand, you're never going to get anywhere. So that is something that gets overlooked quite a bit actually is branding, clear marketing, because it goes hand in hand with lead generation. When you call, if I was to call and say, this is Monica with Dan Holt's team or Holt Holmes Group, and we had never branded ourselves, they'd be like, oh, okay, who are you with? Keller Williams, great. Aren't there like a million agents there? So how are you standing out from the crowd of all of the agents? Branding is so important. Anyone else?
Nicole had sent online training and then follow-ups, following your smart plan tasks and your daily lead gen system and goals.
Yes.
So mine was the same. Mine was actually the education and the learning piece is a big rock, but it also becomes small rocks as well. It can get in the way.
So what's an example of some of the training pieces that are getting in your way?
I think sometimes it's just there's so much to do. I feel like I have to do it all when in reality I probably didn't have to do it all and replace that with lead generation. So that's what I'm trying to do is focus on what I really need to know and where I am in my education, and then replace that with lead gen so that I make sure that I'm getting the big stuff and leaving the little stuff that I don't necessarily need.
Yeah. And definitely tie whatever you're learning, like, so be where your feet are, we always say. Tie that with what you're learning at the moment. So how can you lead generate about whatever it is you're training on right now? How can you put what you're putting into practice today into what you actually need to be doing so that you can kill two birds with one stone? You can learn and you can practice your lead generation around it. So when you're calling of like, hey, so-and-so, funny story, I'm actually in a class right now and I need to get comfortable saying this. Can I bounce a few ideas off of you? Call your people that you know first, get comfortable with it, and then use that script to then call out and utilize that for people that you are not comfortable with yet.
And I know that this class is a lot of time commitment, but Ignite is probably the best one to get you to do those lead generation activities because it's kind of forcing you to do it. It's showing you those money making activities to get you started. So Ignite might seem like a really big rock right now, but I promise it's going to be like, it's going to help you out later on throughout your systems and everything.
So are most of you, like when you started this and people started saying lead generate, cold call people or whatever, how many of you were like really uncomfortable and wanted to crawl out of your skin a little bit? Yeah, 100%. Starting as a listing manager, I got to talk to people after we already had secured them as clients. So it was really easy for me to pick up the phone and say, we're so excited to work with you and let's get your house on the market and congratulations, you're in a contract. I did not understand the hard work that went into the nurturing and the follow-up that our ISA team was doing. And so that was one of my biggest goals that I put on my 411 was understanding what that team went through. And by doing that, I was able to come in behind them and clean up their system and their process so that they could focus on their 20% and not work out of a system that didn't work for them. So it's not always just being on the phone and lead generating, but do you have a good system that supports you to be able to put the 20% of your time into doing that? Because you can get lost in the weeds and it can be very uncomfortable. And one bad call can throw your whole day and make you uncomfortable to call anyone else. So when that happens, reset yourself, call someone you know or someone that you're familiar with to get a good vibe back and then hop back into your lead generation. That can it's a good icebreaker to kind of get you out of that slump of like, oh, this is nerve wracking, it stinks. And it's hard and it gets easier. And you just have to learn how to shake it off and keep pushing. So easier said than done. If you're looking at big rocks, something that I wrote down for mine is time blocking. I can get very off task and not stick to a schedule. And if you are supposed to be lead generating from like 8 to 10 a.m., but instead you're letting people come in and bother you for an hour, you've then lost an hour of your day. So you need to stick to your time block and hold yourselves accountable to that time block. It's very, very important to understand what a time block is, to know the best flow of your day. It can always change, but definitely have items on your time block that can't move, and one of those is lead generation. And if you're going to move it for an hour, replace that hour somewhere else on your calendar during the day.
The last session of Spark talks about time blocking your calendar and all of that. So
oh, perfect. Yeah, well, I just set someone up.
You did. You set Wes up. Wes Litton, he's teaching it.
Time blocking is actually, I nerd out over the subject, so sorry if I got off on a tangent there, but it has been the one thing that has moved me forward. So you'll see this quote again from the one thing. Does someone want to read this out loud? I can read it. Yeah, so for those of you online, what is the one thing you can do right now that would make everything else easier or unnecessary? So this is just another way to identify your 20% when we talk about that. So if you're on Facebook, if you catch yourself, maybe you're on a dial session, you're lead generating and no one's answering, and at the same time you're scrolling on Facebook. You have to mentally make yourself stop and say, is this the one thing right now in this very moment that is going to move my business forward? Well, probably not. If you were on Facebook and you were messaging people and you were lead generating by messages, then yes, that is very much a form of lead generation. You're actually lead generating two different ways at the same time. But if you're just nonchalantly scrolling or you're shopping on Amazon while you're dialing people, that's not really the best thing that you could be doing at that one time, at that moment in time. So it's the one thing in the moment. It's not the one thing for the year. It's not the one thing for the month or the week or even the day. It's at the moment you're in. So asking yourself, if you feel yourself getting a little bit off topic or off track, is this the right thing right now that I should be doing? Because if you're sitting there and you're bored and maybe leads aren't coming in and you're having a moment, is the best thing to do to pull open your phone and just do something that's not productive? No, not really. But you could get up from the training room and you could walk upstairs and say, you know, are there agents in the hallway? If you pass Dan Holt, he would totally give you 5 minutes of his time if you wanted to pick his brain. So kind of thinking about that, networking is definitely the biggest benefit you can do. It was something that I struggled with for several years in the business. I was like, I'm going to do my own thing and I'm going to meet my own people in my own little world, and I don't need to know anyone else. And after I got out of my own head and started connecting with people, connecting with other teams here at the Market Center and other agents, those other agents can actually help you more than you ever realize. They, especially the seasoned ones, they know things that could cut out a portion of your time that could totally set you up for success. And I know everyone in this Market Center would help you. Whether that be an operations person, if you're struggling with systems, or if it's an agent, we have an ISA team. I know any of them would love to talk to you guys. We do script partners. So that's always know your resources so that you can actually make your life easier. You can focus on your one thing and be in the moment and be where your feet are. Questions about any of that? Okay. So quick question for you guys. What is, after this, when we roll into our lead generating, being in the moment, what do you think the most important thing is today that you can do for yourselves? So focus on what's important, 100%. And what is important to you today, if you don't mind me asking? Okay. And who so far have you been lead generating? Okay. Yeah. The world has changed. Social media can. You guys better check your friend requests. And is that working out pretty well for you as far as like utilizing Facebook to be able to capture some leads?
Well, yeah, I think so. It's, I've always said in the past, I'm not going to do a lot on Facebook, but when I got into real estate, I realized that I need to.
Yeah.
So I've done a few videos, and I had a fella that I worked with in my previous job that sent me a message and he said, tell me more about real estate. I saw your video. So he's interested in getting into real estate.
Awesome.
Yeah. It's my fourth person.
That's amazing. People see the market right now and they're like, let me in. Yeah. But the great thing is you've made connections. And so if you can add them into the Market Center and, you know, if we can help get them coached, and it doesn't always have to be about selling houses, you know, figure out how you can get people in your world that can help move you forward in that way. Because you're directly tied then to their success too of what they're doing. Okay, so what successful agents do every day? They lead generate for buyers and sellers. We know that this is how successful agents spend their time and how you'll spend your time. Remember that everything on this list will have to be done. We're trying to identify what your 20% is, which action will get us the most and best results so that we can do everything else. Looking at these activities, you can tell that lead generation, of course, is your top 20%. How you lead generate though is up to you. So if it's Facebook Messenger, if you're door knocking, if you're connecting with vendors, referrals, partner, I have an admin on my team, actually super smart. She connected with a home insurance agent, someone from her hometown. She lives kind of far out, and they've worked out kind of a pass here, pass there situation. So she's sending her in referrals, which then benefits her with our team. And then as she is handling the closing on the buy side, she is recommending them as their insurance agent. So make sure you definitely build relationships with those people so that you guys can pass business back and forth. That will help you out a ton. All right. So one of my favorite parts of all things real estate is your 411. Have you guys ever seen this before? Have one in front of you. Awesome. Yeah. So this is my favorite. I meet with all of our ops members on our team. We do once a week because our team's pretty big. But this is the most important thing that will keep you on track to hit your goals. Hi, Doug. No, you're fine. All right. So you can find this in your toolkit. However, you're going to look at your annual goals, your monthly goals, and then you're going to break that down into your weekly goals. So when you're looking at your 5 rectangles on your envisioning your big life, definitely you can put all of those in here. You can put one of those in here. So on mine, I kind of did, if my annual goal is 120 units, I need 10 closings monthly, and then I'm going to break that down into a weekly goal. So it kind of came out to an odd number. So I did like 2, 2, 3, and 3. That's going to get me to my 10. If I'm looking at this maybe for reviews, I want 48 reviews for the year. I'm going to break that down into 4 a month, and then you're then going to break it out weekly. So thinking of not everything you touch will be a monetary or a quantifiable measure. So say it's, I want to get in shape, what does that look like for you? You can't really necessarily put a number on some of that, but say it's running, I want to run 3 days a week. So then work yourself backwards. So if you want to run 3 days a week, what does that add up to monthly? What does that up to yearly? Say you want to drink 60 ounces of water every day. Like that can totally come on here. It's not just your business goals. It's your business and your personal. And if you're not right in your personal self, you're not going to be right in your business self. So keeping that, it needs to go hand in hand with each other. So if I had to call one person out, who has an annual goal they would want to share? It doesn't matter. It can be anything. Paul's running. Please don't fall.
Oh, okay. Well, got my exercise.
I own a building in Ash Grove that has a commercial business downstairs and an apartment upstairs, and it needs to be completely renovated. So my goal this year is to get the whole thing renovated by next summer.
Okay. So when you're looking at quantifying that, because it's not necessarily a number, right? So you're like, maybe you start your year goal is building your apartment. So monthly goal, let's break that down into what every month can you do that will set you up from 12 months from now that you're finished. So I would, if it were me, I would write out my months, January through December, of what is one area in that property that I need to start on. What's either going to be the biggest or the hardest? Let's knock that out first and then do all the easy items later. So maybe in January it's plumbing, and then it's a roof, and then it's this, and then it's that. But chunk that down into section. And so that way when you're looking at, okay, if I know I have to have all the painting done in July, then what am I working on? Maybe week 1, I'm painting the kitchen and the living room. Maybe week 2, I'm moving to bedrooms 2 and 3. That is how you can take a non-quantifiable measure, and then turn it into a quantifiable measure. So it doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be necessarily a number. You can apply this 411 to anything that you're working with. Anyone else have something that they could automatically add to their 411? Anyone online?
And I'll say for my 411, so I use this a lot too for our training. So like our training calendar. So I know like a certain week I have to start planning for like the next month, or like, in certain months I have to make sure that I'm blocking out for 2 months ahead, and then basically putting it on, okay, make sure that I have this that's going to be planned, because it's going to be a whole event or a whole thing for you guys. So like I use it based on that, because like my annual goal is basically to make sure the calendar is completed every single month. And it usually is. So that's kind of how I can make it smaller for me too. I mean, you can do the same thing with like your lead generation. I mean, you can do that bi-weekly. Like you want to, have, right now you're supposed to be doing 10 contacts a day. So that's what, 50 per week. So making sure that you have 50 per week. And then that could also be like, now I have 3 appointments. Like that's my goal every month, is to make sure that I'm setting this or whatever. So.
And that's exactly, it depends on what area you're focused on, but it's exactly what our inside sales agents do. They have an appointment goal weekly, and then we kind of calculate it backwards. So what's your appointment goal weekly? Then we're going to look at our month, and then we're going to look at our annual. But guess what? You're not going to know what that appointment goal needs to be until you have a unit goal in mind. So how many appointments does it take in order for you to get a closing? Because your first appointment probably isn't going to go like you think. You may not get it, so say it takes you 3 appointments to secure 1 listing. Then you need to do that math backwards. And that's going to tell you how many lead generation calls you need to make. So your appointment to Mets, and then your Mets to closed, or listeds, and then listing to close. So thinking of those numbers, they all go hand in hand. So if you have a unit goal, you should have a lead generation goal. And then you're also going to have to build in time for kind of your 80% of things. But really the 411, what you don't want to do is turn this into a checklist. That is not going to push you any further in life. So I can all day long put, okay, I need to do compliance for all 500 listings that we have. Well, that doesn't really matter. That has to be done anyways. It's just a product that comes with the job. So making sure that your big rocks are what make it onto your 411, not your small sand and your small rocks. It's only the things that are going to push your business forward and make you a better person. So really quick, just to go over, if you're kind of comparing this, like I mentioned, if you're comparing this with your get paid worksheet, which was, it went over your average sales price, your GCI, all of that. Making sure you're focusing on how much you'll make this year. Does it fit with your SMART goals? Does it fit with what you just wrote on that paper? How much more do you need to reach your own goals? How many transactions will it take to reach your goals? So again, your unit count should go on here. The number of transactions that you need this year to meet your goal will go under your annual goals, how many closings you need. And that basically wraps up your 411. Does anyone have questions on it? I'm like, well, I've already covered all of this because I got to rambling. There's so many different.
I'll say something. Who here has a 411? Cool. Who's going to start using a 411 after this?
Who's going to hold you accountable to your 411?
That's it.
That's the most important question too, because you can have a 411 all day, and if it's not in front of your face, or you're not challenging yourself to raise your goals, or maybe to change your 411, you have to have an accountability partner.
And you can meet with any of us at the Market Center. Like, we'll hold you accountable. Okay.
Or like Mark hired Christina. I've met with Christina a handful of times. I don't know Christina. I know Mark. I know Christina now. But I've met with her a few times to kind of look at what that looks like. So again, use your Market Center people. If you don't, maybe it's your husband, you know, maybe yours is your wife. Who's your accountability partner? Because I will say sometimes for a while, I would fill out my 411 and I'd feel really great about it. And a weekend it would be in my desk and I would never look at it again. And at the end of the month, I would be like, huh, cool. I didn't reach half of these. So I now have an accountability partner. It is, trust me, you'll hide it in a drawer if you don't have one. All right, so don't lose your focus. Remind yourself why you're doing what it is that you're doing. So why did you get into real estate? Why is making X amount of dollars important to you? Why is donating to something important to you? You are going to have a big why that's going to affirm your big life, because you are never going to live a big life unless you have a big why. You will lose track of your motivation in real estate. It is a busy world. It can bog you down. It can be extremely stressful, and you can get stuck in that. So every once in a while you have to revisit, what is my big why? Does anyone have a big why created for themselves, or do you know why you are doing what you're doing?
I know this gets asked in like every class. So like if you haven't shared it, no, that's what I'm saying. Like if you haven't shared yours, or if you want to share yours to Monica, because she'll help you make sure that like you know, like she'll ask, like, how's your big why going? Like she will, or any of us.
Yeah.
And I know there's different people in the class every single day. So let's share them.
You want me to go first? Are we all sharing them?
You don't all have.
She's just gonna call you out.
We're all sharing them.
Okay. So I was married. I said I hate my life.
That is amazing.
Thank you.
More power to you.
I don't want to.
No, I don't know why it turned off. Is that red on it?
So for me, I mean, this is like way in the future, but well, I guess it's not actually that far in the future, but for whoever my future wife is and my family, they've always done it to like where the wife wouldn't have to work, like my wife wouldn't have to work. So that'd be cool if I could provide that. And you know, at least have the option for them not to do that. Also, I mean, I just want a Lambo at like 30. So like,
I love that.
I mean, that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants a Lambo before he's
I
30, which
do.
I think is amazing.
That's a great
You
goal.
go get that.
Yeah, I know. Gonna be like floating or something, man. Yeah. So,
Yeah. You'll be able to fly.
that's pretty much my why is that. And then just to be successful at a young age, and just like, I have a bunch of people bashing me for not going to college, but you know, I don't think you need that to be successful. So,
100%.
hopefully sooner than that.
Well, and you look at it like that because I have friends who all went to college and they are still paying off student debt. They're nurse practitioners or whatever, and they're going to be paying off this debt for 30 years. And I'm over here like, I didn't go to college. And look at me. Yeah. It's your why. It's how you want to live your life. And if you have a vision and a 411 and a why and all of that, then you can get there. You just have to understand how you get there.
Mine is I worked in retail big box management for 25 years and I was really good at it. So that's why I stayed. But I hated it. I gave everything to it and missed concerts and missed games and missed all kinds of stuff. And they gave me nothing in return but a paycheck. So mine is to be me again and to love something and have a really good time doing it.
Take one down, pass it around.
Mine is just to be free from, and I guess I already am since I retired from my previous employment, free from that and live a better life. My best life.
Your best life. So I have a wonderful husband. He is a provider and he is an amazing man. I was thankful and blessed enough to stay at home with my babies for 3 years. Thought that that's what I really wanted to do. I was a teacher beforehand and worked in sales before that, and realized it wasn't. I love my babies, but I needed some me time too. And I loved working. You know, before I had kids, I had always worked 3 jobs. I was a workaholic. And he provides so well for us that I don't need to do anything else, but I want him to be able to relax some. And I want to be able to do things for him. He is such a giver. And his way of showing love is buying people things. And his way of receiving love is also getting things in return. And being a stay-at-home mom and buying things for him is essentially just using the money that he earns to give him things. And so I want to earn money and give him things and surprise him with things, not to have a account that's joined and him be like, hey, she bought something today from Bass Pro that's not typically somewhere that she shops. So I know she got me something. I want to be able to surprise him with those things, and just have him not work 80 hours a week and have more family time with him. So that is really my big why. I want to give back to him and give back to so many others who have been great to us.
And here's the thing I hear in your voice is the passion, right? The passion behind it. So that tells me like you're very clear on your big why. And so you're going to do everything you can to hit it.
I love doing this.
It does.
I hate summer in Missouri. I've traveled a lot and I've learned that this is the time of year I hate being in Missouri. So my big goal in life with my partner is from May to September to be able to travel anywhere in the world that I want for that amount of time. And then 1 month in the winter, preferably February, because that's my birthday month, to be somewhere where it's snowing. So that's where we're working towards getting to.
Life by design. Life by
It
design.
snowed in February here. Didn't you remember? No. No. I know this is all my
She's gone, we can snow it.
I got trapped in Denver on my
Hi, I'm Candy. It's nice to meet everybody. I got into real estate so I could have more time with my children. And because I love houses and I love people and I'm really good at sales. So I was like, why not? And that's why I got into real estate.
Shane, my big why is just my family. I was a teacher for 16 years, and we're, I don't know if you're aware, but teachers don't make a whole lot of money. So I'm looking to change that, and so I can provide better for them.
Are you still teaching or no?
I'm not. No, I stopped in May. I'm not going back in the fall.
You can't make me.
My why is also my family. We're a blended family. We have 6 children. My childhood was amazing, but I was raised by a single mom, and we used to count pennies to go to the grocery store. And so I will make sure that my kids do not ever have to do that, and hopefully build a business that they have the option to be a part of if they want to be. But that's the reason why I'm here, outside of not ever wanting to be an employee ever
Right.
again, ever.
Anyone online want to share your big why? Hacky with that mic. So I will kind of share, when I first started, my big why looked much different than it does now. So 5 years later, when I first started, my big why was the same as yours. It was my family. I, similar to you, was in a bad relationship. My kids, I was the single mom, counting pennies, trying to take care of my 2 kids that I had very, very young in my life. And so fast forward, it's not the same anymore. My family life is stable. My husband has a wonderful job. We have a great family. My big why now is to show and empower other people in an operations role that you are actually the heart and one of the biggest contributors in a business. So a lot of people look at an admin role as like, nah, you're just a support staff. Well, you're actually not. Your admin can, like I said, we have went from 20% repeat referral business all the way up to 56%. And a huge part of that is what we're doing on our ops side. So that is my passion. That's my big why, is I want to motivate others to kind of know their own passion, understand what that looks like, how to hit their goals, how to get there, and how to not just be that support person or just that I'm a new agent, or, that's a limiting belief. All of that is a limiting belief. You can do whatever you set your mind to. You can make your life as big as you want it. You can have the biggest why that may seem ridiculous to someone else, but as long as you believe in it, that's what you're going to need to motivate yourself forward. There are days that I literally have to write out my why, because there are some days that I'm like, I can't do this one more day. And guess what? I don't remember that day in a month from now. It wasn't really important. It was all an emotion talking. So knowing why you're doing it, revisiting that during the hard times, because real estate's not dogs and rainbows, like we all know that. But it's also so rewarding, and it's amazing when you get there at the end of a line with a client and they tell you how you've changed their life. Like, that is the most rewarding thing that you could ever possibly experience with someone. If you've ever bought or sold a house, you know how stressful it is, and just being able to connect with people as they also buy and sell a house, and kind of living with them where their feet are too. So money is good for the good it can do. That was something that I had written down to share with you guys, just to remember. You need a reason to be excited, which is your big why, and you have to love the grind. Even when you don't love the grind is what pushes you forward. All right, another one thing quote: accountable people achieve results others can only dream of. So goals without accountability, they're just wishes. We're more likely to do what we've said we're going to do if we know we must answer to someone. So who's your accountability partner? In this room, do you have accountability partner? At home, do you have an accountability partner? If you do not know who your accountability partner is, you need to go find one today, because you can never start too early. I don't know if any of you have ever watched Pain and Gain, but it always makes me laugh. I know, I watched it again last night, but basically Mark Wahlberg, like through the whole thing, he's like, be a doer, like the whole time, be a doer, be a doer. So be a doer todayer. Like, you have to do the things today if you're going to get anywhere in your life. All right, recaps, ahas. Everyone have something they're implementing today that they are taking with them. 3? Okay.
I know Cassie's not shy.
I am really going to dig into my 411 because you were coming at me. No, you
I'm
weren't.
sorry.
No,
I'm
you
really
weren't.
passionate about it.
No.
And
No,
your accountability
y-
person?
I know. I think
I'm
I
rough.
need you. Well, that's why I was like, no. It was just funny because all you asked was, "Do you have one?" Yeah, I got one, but it's in a drawer. So I'm or it's in a book or something somewhere. But I'm gonna really dig into that and create something that. And it's not a checklist, but it is something, and I'm much better at when it's written down. I will follow through with it. So if it's just in my head, maybe I'll do that. So I'm really gonna push in.
Well, and when I talked about time blocking, like for a hot minute, I know Wes is going to talk about it, but definitely put that. You should be looking at your 411 daily just so
Yeah.
you can see what your week is consisting of.
Yeah.
But you should be meeting with your accountability partner at least once a week. Everyone on our team does a 411 every single week so that they're clear on reaching their goals for the month so that they can reach their yearly goal.
I guess mine would be just what you said, Monica, about like you're not going to necessarily see everything that you're doing right away, like whether it's monetary or not. Cause like I do get tired of doing the script practice or like even just calling. It's probably the worst thing about this job. But like,
I agree.
but like just remembering like you're sharpening your skills every single time you're growing in what you're doing and you're becoming more of a professional in what you're doing. And it's in the monetary stuff or just whether it's monetary or not, it's just the success, whatever it is to you is going to come later. And so, like, I feel like I've been in this a lot longer than 2 months just because of just what I'm doing every single day. And so, yeah, that was an aha for me.
Yeah. On your personality too. I don't know what yours is on a disc, but I'm like the highest D there could ever
That's what
possibly
I
be.
am. Yeah.
And so it's very hard for me to be like, okay, my goal this year was I wanted to be a MAPS coach. And I finally was like, they said the opportunity will come to you in 2022. And I'm like, well, I don't want to wait till then. Like I've already applied and I'm like, I'm going to rush this process, but you have to realistically know that it's not going to be right now. It really may be 2022, but I'm going to do everything I can to set myself up for success until then. So just that instant satisfaction in real estate doesn't really come.
Anyone online? Can we get one online? One aha from today. I know there's 10 of you on there.
Oh,
So.
I see Justin Bay's name and I know Justin. So Justin, I'm going to need you to unmute yourself
Oh,
and share an aha.
Monica just called you out, Justin. You're gonna have to unmute yourself and share an aha.
I didn't even know you were on here.
Yes, ma'am, I'm on here. I was listening while I was getting things around to go to some showings.
Oh, excuses.
But I'm the world's worst with the 411. I've definitely got to get back into that from the first Ignite that I went through. I get so ahead of myself and so wound up that I just go 100 miles an hour and forget the little things that could help me out in the long run.
Work smarter, not harder, and you cannot finish your 411 until you create your big why. That is like, you can't fast forward through the steps. You have to know why you're doing what you're doing so that you can have accountable and achievable goals. Yeah, so we are at, let's see. Yep. Cool. Yeah, you're fine. So if you guys want to break out, say for like the next 15 minutes or so till about like 11:15 and do some script practicing. And then we will move on to lead generating.